Greetings, nerds, and welcome to my 2016 MagFest vlog. Now, if you have been viewing this channel for the last few months, you have probably noticed a startling lack of content. And the reason for that is actually quite simple. I haven't been making any. So that's the reason for that. Over this past weekend, I was at the Gaylord Convention Center in National Harbor, Maryland, for the annual Music and Gaming Festival, otherwise known as MagFest, and I'm going to do this little vlog because, you know, everybody else seems to be doing it, so why not me? If you've watched a good friend of mine by the name of Mikey Insanity, you can check out his channel at a provided link that I'm sure I will take the time to edit in. He did his annual video where he posts about him going to MagFest, and I was shown at the end of that video saying this. I can't wait to come back, and even if a bunch of people don't come back next year, I'll keep coming back. I love coming here. So, had a good time. And I stand by that, but I didn't want to take up too much time in his video, so I left my response fairly brief, and this is more to kind of expand on that and why I had such a good time. Because if you had asked me, I left Massachusetts for Maryland. I drove down on Thursday. I was there in the early afternoon on Thursday, and I stayed until Monday morning. And if you'd have asked me on Friday night, if you'd have asked me how my MagFest had been, I probably would have told you that it had been the worst MagFest I had been to. The reason being, and you can probably tell based on my voice, is that I was actually rather unwell at MagFest. I had started to come down with some sort of sickness, cold, earlier in the week, actually. I had started to have symptoms of my biannual cold. I usually get 2 colds a year, and I hadn't gotten one yet, so here was number 1. Hopefully number 2 doesn't come at VidCon. So I was actually, on Friday, I was rather miserable. Hopefully I didn't exude that too much, because one of the I hate being miserable around people who are having a good time. So I did my best to be as exuberant as I was capable of being, in spite of how sick I was. I was pounding back Dayquil and Airborne, which I found out you can combine. It is not a danger to your liver, as I was afraid of initially. They don't have the same ingredients, go figure. But because I was so sick and there were not a lot of people there, like last year when I went to MagFest, there was a ton of people there who, you know, like I just got added on to like random groups, and I apologize for being unprofessional. I was sort of a third wheel to a lot of groups at last year's MagFest, and you know, it was kind of a joke for me last year, but this year there weren't that many people to be attached to as part of a group, and I spent most of the first day, Thursday, driving, literally driving. It took 8 hours to get from Massachusetts to Maryland, and I had only been there for a little bit before I had to go to the airport to pick people up from the airport. And I don't have a problem doing that. I'm always happy to help friends out. But, you know, again, that even took longer than it should have, because the GPS doesn't understand Maryland's really odd way of setting up its bridges, because National Harbor is in, like, this weird chokehold of Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia, and the GPS just didn't know what to do, so we got turned around, and what should have taken 20 minutes ended up taking about an hour and 20 to get back from Ronald Reagan Airport. So Thursday was not the greatest day, and then Friday I felt terrible all day. So, and add that to the fact that a lot of people who I had wanted to see weren't there. And I was actually, on Friday, I was not too pleased, but the evening things started to turn around a little bit that evening. I got to see The Witch with a really great group of people. They did a vlog on it. You may have seen Film Brain, and I might leave some people out accidentally. Film Brain, Count Jacula, Horror Guru, Kaluna, Crash Thompson. Oh no. Oh no. Rap Critic wasn't there because I was with him. Never mind. Those people that I know did a vlog on The Witch, and they talked about that movie, and I went and saw it with them. I was part of the group that saw it, and we had a really, really great time seeing that movie. It was a good movie. And then afterwards, there was I went to the Going Off podcast live, which is done by Rap Critic and Mark Muse, and they talked about Randy Savage's diss album to Hulk Hogan, and it was funny because they were talking about something that I have interest in. And Muse was somebody that I had never really gotten to talk to, and because of that, I actually met him and talked to him, and it turns out he's a really cool person. So that was great. Hanging out with Rap Critic was great, and all the people that I got to hang out with there, we had a really, really good time. But that was kind of and then after that was supposed to be the audition. And if it sounds like I'm going kind of rambly, it's what I do, man. I'm unscripted right now. After that was going to be the audition for the worst movie ever panel, which I had been in 2 years running, and it's run by He Is an Evil Genius, and it's always worthy of a laugh. And I participated 2 years in a row, but I didn't get to this year, partially because I was late to the panel, and partially because I was feeling so terrible that I don't feel like I would have done terribly had I gone up there. Plus, I'd been drinking, and that's, never a good combination of things to be when you're trying to perform for people. So, by the end of that night, I was kind of miserable. I was like, oh, excuse me, what's in this? That combination of things just kind of made it a little more difficult for me to enjoy myself, even though going to the movie and the Going Off panel, both of those were fantastic. I had a really great time doing both of those things. The kind of negatives of the day kind of added up, and I was more focused on those. But then Saturday saved the entire con for me. Saturday was great. I had a really good time. I met so many people on Saturday. Saturday was the day I got the bulk of the stuff that I bought, which I will show you momentarily. It's where I got to talk with people who I actually wanted to meet. I got to see a lot of the things that I actually wanted to see, and I really got to experience what MagFest is commercially all about. And it started, really, the really fun, memorable stuff started later in the day, when I went with Lady Spaz, Rap Critic, Film Brain, and Mikey Insanity. We all went to a theater somewhere, this terrible movie theater, and we saw 50 Shades of Black, which I'm not going to get into here because Film Brain, I don't know when, will be posting a huge vlog that all of us were a part of, where we gave our thoughts on that particular movie. Suffice it to say, the movie was garbage. The theater experience, amazing. Really it was a great time at the theater. And then right after that was, we went to, it was my good buddy, Matt Iannone. It was his birthday. We went to a hotel room to have a party for him, had some drinks, and I stayed there for a little bit, and then Rap Critic and I left, and we went to, because he wanted to see Mega Ran, and I wasn't familiar with Mega Ran at the time because I'm a bad internet person. He wanted to see Mega Ran, and I said that I wanted to as well because I had decided that I wanted to be introduced to more music, and Rap Critic also wanted to check out some of the indie games, and that was another thing that I wanted to do because I've been kind of on an indie kick lately. It's not entirely true, but I'm interested in indie games, and I like to support indie games, and MagFest has an entire section dedicated to indie games as well as major console releases, and I wanted to see the indie stuff and also check out some concerts. When we got there, Mega Ran had already finished his performance and was outside at a table and was doing autographs and all that fun stuff, all that fun business. Excuse me. Sorry, I'm really good at, being professional. Anyway, he had already finished, but I had heard from another friend of mine that I Fight Dragons was playing at the time, and I left the group. It was Muse, his girlfriend, Rap Critic. They were waiting for Mega Ran, and I said, you know what, I want to go. I want to check out I Fight Dragons. So I went in there and I listened to their set for a little bit, and it was really good. And that was another one because I'm a bad nerd. I wasn't really familiar with I Fight Dragons, but now I've listened to them and I really, really liked their stuff. It had a really good sound, and it was something that I enjoyed. So I got introduced to some great new music, and then I left the concert to go back with Rap Critic because we were gonna hit the game room, and we just they happened to be talking to Mega Ran at the time, and I found out that one of his I knew in passing that he had done Mega Man raps, which I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. But then I had found out that he had also done Final Fantasy VII. A Final Fantasy VII based album, and I was like, well, I really like that game, and I was like, I'm always looking for new rap that's not trash, so I decided to pick up Black Materia, which is Mega Ran's rap album about Final Fantasy VII, and I listened to it twice on my ride home from Maryland, and Mega Ran was also, I don't know if you can see it, was kind enough to sign it for me. He said THX Chris, which was very nice of him, and he spelled Chris properly, because actually, when I tell people my name is Chris, apparently it's not common to have CH anymore, which is weird, because I did have somebody sign something for me, not at this con, but another con I went to. Somebody signed it as KRIS, which was, it felt wrong to correct them. But I got to do that, that was really cool. We got to check out the indie games, and that was a ton of fun. Got to, I'm blanking on the name of one of them because, it was so memorable, and I had a bit to drink. I think it was called, Particle Maze, that's what it was. Rap Critic and I were playing that, and it was we just had a blast playing that. I played a game called, A Tale of Tofu, which was actually a fun little puzzle game. I got to check out some really, really cool stuff there, and then Rap Critic and I drunkenly played Streets of Rage, which is probably the most fun I've ever had playing Streets of Rage. We had a good time doing that, and then, at that point, it was still, I think it had to have been, 1:30 in the morning or something like that, probably closer to 2, when we decided to go. We got invited by, this random... a random person just came up to us, and we just started talking and said, hey, you guys should come to the rave, and we decided, yeah, let's check out the rave, and, we just went there, danced like a couple of nerdy fools for a little bit. Of course, he did better, because he's got rhythm, and I don't, and I had been drinking, but so had he, but he still managed to keep his rhythm, and what little I had was lost. And that ended off the night, and that was a really, really great night. So into Sunday morning, I was feeling a lot better, even though Sunday morning a lot of people were leaving. We got to hang out with the last little group of people, and, I hung out with a good friend, Shark Wayne, he does videos as Prince of Cards. And again, all these people who I'm mentioning, I will link to them if I am of the mind to remember. He stuck around for another day. And we hung out most of the day. We watched these ridiculous videos that Mikey Insanity was kind enough to play for us. And then it was all in preparation for the final piece of our MagFest pie, which was to have a large group of people, which included Rap Critic, Iannone, Shark, Mikey, Film Brain, Zenith Will Rule, Lady Spaz, and myself. We all watched WWE Fastlane, which was amazing, because it was terrible. The pay-per-view was terrible, as most WWE filler pay-per-views are. It was awful, but the commentary provided by all of us was fantastic. And then we were all transfixed at the unabashedly terrible assault on the concept of comedy that was Edge and Christian's show that totally reeks of awesomeness. Contrary to what the title tells you, it did not reek of awesomeness. It was actually quite awful, and we were all just kind of transfixed by this. And, you know, that made Sunday a great day. Like, even Sunday was really good. And the thought that I picture the layman, or the person who doesn't really understand why travel to these. Because if you've listened to what I've said so far, and I'll get to the loot in a second. If you've listened to what I've said so far, something that might come to mind is why? You know, it's 400 miles at least from where I live to Maryland. Why travel 800 miles round trip to go to a place where you're going to watch movies, where you're going to go to a movie theater to watch movies, watch wrestling pay-per-views, and listen to music? Why travel that far if it's all stuff that you can do at home? And if your argument is for, well, with those specific people, you can have them in a Skype call. The internet has brought everybody closer together. The world's not as big of a place anymore, courtesy of the internet. So why go through the deal with being sick and all that, and still say that it was the best MagFest I'd been to? And as cliche and sappy as it sounds, it is really because of those people. I got to meet some really, really great people, some people I was really happy, that people I've known kind of tangentially on the internet, that I've gotten to actually speak to now. Like, I'm way more friendly with Film Brain now. Like, we hung out so much, I guess I kind of have to. You know, I got to meet and talk to Doc Pepper, I got to meet and talk to Muse, people who I've wanted to talk to, just based off of our common interests for a long time. I got to meet the Rock Critic, which was cool. He's a super awesome guy. You know, and also seeing people who I haven't seen in a long time, like Iannone and Zenith. Oh, fuck those guys. I see them all the time. I'm just kidding, guys. But people like you know, Horror Guru and Count Jacula, like, they live on the other side of the country. Like, I don't get to see them at all. And, you know, to see them, even if it is just once a year, it's really great hanging out with those guys again. I don't think I've seen them in person. Shit, it has to have been a couple of years now. If it wasn't when I went out to San Francisco, it was probably 2 MagFests ago. It's been a while since I've seen them. And it was great to hang out with them again, because they're really great people. So, that's the reason I go back. That's one reason I will continue to go back to MagFest as long as it is within my capability to do so. Is because as long as there are some people who I enjoy seeing there, as long as there are some people that I know who are there, I will continue going back. And also, segueing into the other thing, one thing I also want to start doing while I go to MagFest, is hopefully the comic book that I work on, which, if you are unfamiliar with it, my friend Gray Bryson and I have been working on a comic for almost 2 years now. We've got our first issue complete and posted. I will link to that, of course. and I want to start having the comic there, and I want to start networking with people to give the comic a bigger audience, because that is, I jokingly mentioned earlier that there hasn't been a lot of content video-wise on this channel, which is going to change because I've got some episodes planned and then I've got some other stuff in the works, so fret not, video content is coming. But most of my creative juices have been going towards this comic book, and it is, I'm not going to lie, it is something I am intensely proud of, and something that I do want people to see, and I do want people to read, and I want to show it off at MagFest if I can, and that'll actually segue me nicely into the stuff that I purchased while at MagFest, because one of the things I purchased was a graphic novel series, the first two issues of a graphic novel series called Novo, and it was written by a man named Michael S. Bracco, who was kind enough to give me some pointers on bringing my comic to MagFest and subsequent conventions, and some things to expect when I finally start printing it. And it was really helpful advice, and I doubt he's watching this, but if you are, I have read the first issue of Novo, and it's really great, and I highly recommend you do too. But if you are watching, thank you, because that was really helpful advice, and it was advice that I really needed, and again, it was one of the main reasons why this MagFest was so great, was getting the helpful advice that I needed. But that said, that's all the sappy stuff. Now it's time to get into the stuff that I actually bought. I already talked about Black Materia, which, again, it's freaking awesome if you love Final Fantasy and rap that doesn't eat shit. Black Materia is for you. This isn't really a product. I guess there is one more sappy thing I can show off, and it is, there is a Ferris wheel. I took a couple of photos of it. There is a Ferris wheel in National Harbor. It overlooks the harbor itself, and it's got a really great view of the hotel that I went on with Mikey Insanity, Shark Wayne, and Isaac the Media Hunter. And we took this fun little photo. Oh my god, I hate the stupid camera reverbs in the way. I could always turn the thing back, but I gotta watch me on the viewfinder because I'm self-absorbed and I always have to be looking at me. That's us anyway. We look like a couple of... Look at these nerds! But yeah, so we did that, which was nice. Which now brings me to... That's all the sappy stuff. Like, this is the kind of stuff I'm talking about when I said, like, this was great. Being with those guys, you know, in a confined space was really, really nice. Now for the stuff I bought. The first, I'm not going in any order here. This is just whatever the order of the pile is what we're going with. So the first thing I bought was, there was this little boutique that was selling like a bunch of Japanese memorabilia, and at a place like MagFest that's actually quite uncommon, because a lot of other cons that I go to, like I go to Anime Boston, I've been to a lot of other anime cons, and the only things there are going to be like t-shirt vendors, import video game vendors, and manga and anime vendors. That's all you're going to see. MagFest is a lot more for art and music and video games, of course. So to see, I think there probably was one or two little boutiques like this that were selling like pretty much just Japanese memorabilia, and one of them had a bunch of like really, really cheap live-action Japanese DVDs. And I went there with Mikey Insanity because both of us are huge fans of schlocky, stupid-looking movies. Like, he introduced me to one of the greatest things ever put to film, The Creature from Lake Michigan, and that's amazing, by the way. And if you've got, I want to say it's like 10 or 15 bucks. If you can get it on Amazon, get it, because you will not regret it. So we went there with the intention of getting the worst, whatever the dumbest looking things we could find were. And But it actually turned out that a lot of the stuff was like stuff that, you know, if you are a film buff, you would probably recognize as possibly being really good, because it was like a lot of Japanese horror movies that were done by Takashi Miike, who is like a really prominent Japanese horror director. So I was like, I don't know, maybe most of these are actually good. But then I found this little beauty here. This is called Tokyo, the Last Megalopolis. And what really drew it to me was, you know, fucking Zorro here on the cover, but also the fact that the conceptual designs for this movie were done by H.R. Geiger. For those of you who don't know, he has done... Most people are probably familiar with his artwork if you've seen Alien or a lot of other things. So, like, or Darkseid, excuse me. He's done a lot of art designs for stuff like that. So I was very intrigued by this. On that alone, the one I told Mikey to get was something called Reborn from Hell. I told him to get that because it had a dumb title. Anyway. The next thing, I get a video game for the Nintendo DS, and it's called Ghost Trick Phantom Detective. This is a game that has been recommended to me by numerous people, specifically the artist for the Torchbearers comic, Gray. He will not shut up about this game, and I've never gotten an opportunity to play it. But now I have that opportunity once I get through all the other crap. Another one I got, this one I kind of got more on a whim, which is scary. I've always been interested in these games because, like, I don't know what it is about the trope of being a person who is, you know, kind of inserted into a video game, but that's basically the plot of Dot Hack. So I picked up one of the Dot Hack games. It's Dot Hack Rebirth. Dot Hack GU Volume 1 Rebirth. It's a bit of a mouthful, but I actually have heard... I have Dot Hack Infection. Quarantine's impossible to find, but I was able to find this, so I figured that alone is reason enough to pick it up. Actually, this is probably one of the easier ones to find. I haven't done as much research on it. The last one I got as a terrible joke. The worst kind of joke, actually. If you follow me on Twitter, at Christhenerd92, I rant and rave about a lot of different things, because misery sells. No. I complain about a lot of stuff on the internet for humor more than anything else. Predominantly, I complain about wrestling. I complain about video games. I complain about movies. Like, if it is media to complain about, I probably complain about it on Twitter. And one of the manga series that I am continuously complaining about, aside from Black Clover and Bleach, is a little ditty called Seraph of the End. It is quite possibly one of the worst things in the world. Oh my god, I'm burping. No! It ruins the flow. In more ways than one, actually. Or, no, I guess burping kind of... It makes the flow a little better. Joke ruined. Anyway. One of them is called Seraph of the End. For the uninitiated, it is a story about a young boy who lives in a world where vampires take over, basically. Vampires take over this world, and he wants to kill them all. He wants to kill all the vampires because they killed his family. And they turned his best buddy into a vampire. So apparently they got a Vita game called Seraph of the End. I'm sure that these Japanese, this Japanese kanji here, I'm sure it equates to some sort of title, but Rosetta Stone says I'm only level 1 in Japanese, so I don't know what any of this says. It is an imported game, so the entirety of it is in Japanese. There are no English subtitles anywhere to be found. But I bought it anyway, on the hopes that I understand enough about video games to play this and make some sort of sense of what's going on. And looking at the back, I'll just post a picture. Looking at the back of it, it appears to be some sort of grid-based strategy game, think Disgaea. Only starring the abominable characters of Seraph of the End. So, naturally, I'm sure this game is buttloads of fun. And I wanted to play it for my own twisted enjoyment, to see if it's just as bad. And that's pretty much it. I did not buy, this is from KFC, I bought this a couple hours ago. This I did not buy at MagFest. I had other really good food there. But that, I think, wraps everything up. I've been talking for far too long, so I'm going to wrap this video up and just say that MagFest 2016 was a success. I had a great time there. It reminded me again, it's been a while since I've been to a con. The last con I went to was back in July, when I went to Kineticon. And going to MagFest reminded me why I love going to these cons so much, and why I can't wait to go to MagFest 2017, money and other circumstances allowing. I can't wait for that. So I do want to thank everybody who was at MagFest, who, there's so many people who I got to hang out with. Pretty much everybody who I mentioned in this video. If I've mentioned you in this video, you're somebody that is worthy of thanking. For making my MagFest really good, especially from Saturday onward, because Friday was a miserable son of a bitch, and I don't like being like that, so it was a good time. There was lots of jokes going around. It was fun watching those movies and the shows, and going to dinner with all of you. I just had a really, really great time. The next con I will be at, for sure, will be VidCon. I will be going, that's in California, from July 23rd through 25th, I believe. I will be there for that, to see all the California friends who didn't get to go to MagFest this year. I'll be going there to see them, and I might, since it's in Boston and I kind of have no excuses, I might also turn up for Anime Boston as well, because I go every year, so why leave it out? But if you've watched this entire video and made it through all of my rambling nonsense, please forgive me. I am a bit rusty at video making. I haven't been in front of the camera to do videos of this length for quite some time, so please do forgive the dust that is no doubt settled. What does that even mean? I don't know. But thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. More content is coming. Promise. But I'm always on Twitter if you want to see someone complain about stuff that he should have stopped paying attention to years ago. So, and also, I recommend stuff on Twitter a lot too, so come for the indignance, stay for the recommendations. See you guys next time.